Hello and welcome to Math 100. So I am going to create a series of videos to go over practice test number 1, okay, which covers chapters 1 and 2. And you do not have to watch all the videos. And in fact, it may be advisable if you are to just go to that particular question on which you may have some problems, right? So I am going to try to divide this up into like a set of 5 questions. For practice test number 1, I think there are 25 questions. So maybe I can just make 5 short segments or 5 short video clips, each covering 5 questions from that practice test. Okay, so let's go over practice test number 1. I'm going to start with question number 1. All right, so you'll find practice number 1, of course, under the module for test number 1. And as it says, this test covers chapters 1 and 2. Real test number 1 is going to include some true-false questions, probably about 10, and about 10 multiple choice questions, as well as 10 free response questions. And for those free response questions, you must show your work on your piece of paper, and then you upload that piece of paper as a PDF file, and make sure that you have one PDF file, even with multiple pages. Do not just take photos and send a bunch of photos, okay, because they will not be accepted. All right, so let's go to practice test 1, and we start with problem number 1. If P is true and Q is false, okay, so P is true, Q is false, then what is the truth value of each of the following? Okay, so let's look at these. Okay, so for P and Q, this is the combined statement called a disjunction, conjunction, because it's an and statement. For this to be true, both P and Q have to be true, right? Because P is true and Q is false, this is actually false, right? Because for an and statement to be true, both P and Q have to be true. Here, we have disjunction because it's an or statement. And for this to be true, either P has to be true or Q has to be true or both. In this situation, P is true, so this is true. Not too bad, right? If P then Q. Now, do you remember when the conditional statement, if P then Q is true? This is almost always true. The only time this is false is if P is true. Okay, so maybe I should write this down. This would be false only if P is true and Q is false. And unfortunately, that's exactly what we have here. P is true and Q is false, right? So this answer here would be false. Okay, again, conditional, here's a fancy way of saying this. A conditional statement is false only when the antecedent is true and the consequent is false. In other words, if the first part is true and the second part is false, as in this situation, that's the only time that a conditional statement is going to be false. Now here, the order is reversed. This is called what? Yeah, it's called the converse, right? If Q, then P. In this situation, Q, the antecedent is false. Now, that tells you that this whole statement has to be true, because if you assume a false statement, then you can say anything, right? So this time, this is false. The consequent is true, but that is irrelevant. This statement is true just because the antecedent, Q, is false. Okay. Number 2, there is a job advertisement stating that the minimum qualification is either, a keyword, a master's degree in biology, or, okay, so a master's degree in biology. Usually it's a Master of Science, MS in biology, or at least 2 years of experience in a medical lab. Okay, so you have to have one of these or both. Do these people qualify? Adam, because part A, Adam, B starts with B and so on. Okay, Adam has worked in a medical lab for 3 years, but has no college degree. Now, he has worked in a medical lab for 3 years. That's at least 2. So because of that experience, yes, he is qualified to, or he has satisfied the minimum requirement or minimum qualification. Bernardo has a master's degree in biology. You don't have to read anymore, okay? Because just by the fact that he has a master's degree in biology, that would allow him to apply for this job. He has satisfied the minimum requirement. Okay, now you can read more if you like. He has worked in the medical lab for 4 years. Yeah, in fact, he satisfies both of these requirements. Candace has just begun working in medical lab, so it's not more than 2 years or not at least 2 years, has no master's degree, right? So she does not satisfy the minimum qualification because she doesn't have this and she doesn't have that. Devon has just received a master's degree in biology and blah, blah, blah. You don't have to read anymore. She does satisfy the minimum qual because she has a master's degree in biology. Now, she also never worked anywhere, okay? But that's okay because she does satisfy the first part. Number 3, write the negation of the statement, some people like it hot. Okay, so this is, by the way, what? This is the name of a what? Movie, a play. Some people like it hot, an old movie, by the way. If you are to write the negation, remember this is the word some. This is an existential quantifier. If you want to negate it, that's going to be the universal negation, because the original statement is basically saying there exists at least one person who likes it hot, whatever it and hot means. So the negation will be nobody, right? No one likes it hot. Okay. So another way of saying this is there does not exist any person who likes it hot. I mean, you don't have to make it this precise. This is so precise. This almost sounds unnatural. Okay, but you don't have to say that. The first part is fine. No one likes it hot. Okay, so now let's go to number 4. Let me erase this. Okay, so here, what is a negation of this statement? Every car has seatbelt. Now, this is a universal quantifier, every car, right? So the negation will be an existential statement. The negation of every car has seatbelts is, well, some cars don't. Okay, so you can say some cars do not have seatbelts. Now, whether this is true or not is irrelevant. Okay, in other words, you start thinking, yeah, we have some old cars from the 1960s. Maybe you have a 1964 and a half Mustang or something. Yeah, they don't come with seatbelts. Okay, but that part is irrelevant. Okay, in fact, do not think of what is real and what is really true or false. The only thing you should be concerned about is the logical structure of the statement. If every car has seatbelts, is the statement. The negation is some cars do not. Okay, some cars do not have seatbelts. Another way of saying that would be there is at least one car without seat belts. Okay. All right, number 5. What is the negation of this statement? I like both dogs and cats. Now, this is both A and B, right? So this is a conjunction statement. And so the negation would be a disjunctive statement by what? Okay, do you remember? So this is by De Morgan's laws. Okay, so the negation would be, as it states here, be sure to use the word or. Okay, so I like both dogs and cats. Either I do not like dogs or I do not like cats. So the negation will be a disjunction statement. So I don't like dogs or cats. By the way, if you stated I don't like dogs or cats, that's not the correct statement. Maybe I should write that too. If I say I don't like dogs or cats, if you say this in English, this means I don't like dogs and I don't like cats. And that is not the negation. So I don't like dogs or cats would not be a correct answer. because this means an and statement. Okay, you don't like cats and you don't like dogs. I know there's a word or in there, but that does not make it right. Okay, so the correct answer is either I don't like dogs or I don't like cats. And if you look really carefully, what I have written here as the correct answer is not the same as this statement here. Okay, so these are the first 5 questions. I'm going to go into the part 2 of this video for the next 5 questions.